meeting of Oroville Parks Commission. Should we have a roll call?
Commissioner Hicks,
Here?
Commissioner Kritz. Kritz, sorry, yes.
Here.
Commissioner Jones, absent. Commissioner Rich. Commissioner Holtz. Holtz, sorry.
Thank you. Let's stand and say our Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do we have any public presentations? Or are we just getting right to our, or public communication or comments, or are we just getting right to our regular business?
We do not have any public comments or not for non-general or anything. So you guys could probably just move forward.
Great. So we have an update on Hewitt Park.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tim Caber, I'm the project manager, senior civil engineer, hired on about 3.5 months ago. I talked with you and was introduced with you 2 months ago, and at that meeting, you had requested an update on Hewitt Park at the next Parks Commission, so this is it. Is anybody familiar with Hewitt Park? Have you seen any of the pictures before of this project? Okay, so some of this may be a repeat, but there is good news. This brief is just except for information. I'm not asking you for any motions or any action items. Project timeline. Now, last time I was before you, I had a personal aggressive timeline and thought that we would be somewhat closer to actual project award. Reality hit and it slid a little bit, but we had to get the design updated and get some confliction out. However, I'm happy to report that yesterday I released the request for proposal. It is on public purchase right now. And I have a job walk scheduled for next Tuesday. Bids are due February 4th of next year. And I'm aiming for project award sometime in March of 2025. Start of construction would follow relatively soon after award, so either late March or early April 2025. And this is a 200 working day contract, which would put the finish date somewhere in December, January timeframe, depending on when the project's awarded. Now that will pose a little bit of a problem for a spectacular ribbon cutting of the splash pad because it is the middle of winter. However, the pickleball courts will be open, and the pickleballers are very interested in this project. And I've received and had communication with one of the leads, giving her updates on where the design is and where the proposal's at, where the contract's at, and she's very happy. So far to date, I've got approval from Butte County Environmental for the splash pad. That is the pump and the recycling of the water, because it's almost like a pool activity, so that we needed approval from them. I've released the RFP yesterday, and we have ordered and received quite a few of the equipment for the splash pad and the playgrounds. We ordered those before the project was awarded, simply because we needed to save money and we needed to get ahead of delivery dates. If I'm going to get this done in 9 months, I need to have that equipment on hand. So now this is, you may have seen these before, it may be a little bit, and I arranged them from north to south as you come into the park and then get onto the splash pad and then onto the picnic area. I don't have a rendering of the slide at the very back of the park. I apologize for that. But the rendering software, it was a little bit rough on that, and it would not have been presentation worthy. This is the northern section overview. This is already done. So the fences around the train, the 2 basketball courts are there. This is so not too much work up here. This was in phase 1, but the project that I'm going to do is phase 2. Moving on south, this is the southern section overview. So you can see the horseshoe pits, you can see the dog park, you can see off to the right the pickleball courts. Nestled in there is the splash pad, a playground, and the hill slide is up on the top of the slide. There's also another train on the top, and there will be a parking lot up there as well. And ADA compliant ramp will come down from that parking lot so that you don't have to go all the way around to get to the front of the park and access it and have fun.
Can I add that sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask if this is oriented to
This is looking south, yes.
One of the reasons of the significant slowdown of the RFP getting launched was the ADA ramp, so that hadn't been figured in the original drawing, but when we looked at it, the stairway, it didn't allow for everybody to be able to get up there. The ramp is how long? 280 feet?
There's 3 switchbacks on it.
So it's really quite an effort to get that done. So we had to we eliminated the stairway going up to the top, and to free up some of the funding, but we still had to add some money into it to get the ramp done because it's really long and it was pretty complicated to get done. It took some engineering to get that completed.
Can you tell me what is to the right side, the blue?
The blue, that is pickleball courts. Now, some of these renderings were done, all of these renderings were done a while ago, so some of the features that you will see are not included, and those coverings for the pickleball court and the grandstands are not included in the project. This is looking at the dog park. So this is looking in the southwesterly direction. You can kind of see the restroom would be directly underneath us, and then fenced off areas for small dogs, and then a separate one for large dogs. Then looking at that grass back there is a play field as well as a retention area for water. Going over to the water feature entrance, so this is looking south again. Got the Hewitt Station water tower and the main part of the splash pad. You have a couple of picnic areas left and right of it. Those are actually in the contract or in the project, so those will stay. Doing more of an overview of it, you can see the train in the background. That is also part of the water feature and is also accessible, so you can actually roll through it and participate in it that way. So I think this one's going to be pretty nice. I like the look of this one with the water coming out of it. Behind there, you also have a picnic pavilion. That's that covering behind there. Looking north at the playground, we did add like a mercantile exchange kind of thing on the bottom of that playground for a more interactive experience for the younger kids. I remember I went to parks like this as a kid, and it was always fun to pretend to be the storekeeper. So I think it's a nice add. Directly behind the viewer of this would be the ramp and the slide coming down the hill. So we're almost all the way at the southern end of the park. You can also see a separate overlook pavilion for picnics on the left of that. That is separate from the other two that we had seen earlier. So there's a lot of places here for folks to get together and have parties.
Are we going to rent those out? Do you know? Will those be available?
Bigger one would be rented out.
Okay. So it has electricity and water and like.
Actually, I think that we weren't talking about renting it out, but being able to reserve it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is the one that I get calls on the most. Actually, this is the one I get calls on only. The pickleballers in the area, very, very interested in this project. So 8 pickleball courts. And again, the covered areas are not going to be there. That was too much money. We had to cut somewhere. So that was what we removed from it. The whole project, I have an option to fence it with what we call a no-climb fence. Right now, there's a 6-foot fence in there. There's also a bid option for the contractors to price out a 7-foot no-climb fence, just so we can get a little more security and keep people out. Again, this was for information only. I'm not asking for any actions, or you can always direct me. But that concludes my brief, subject to any questions.
You didn't have any pictures or renderings of the hill slide?
I do not have renderings of that. The software was having fits with that, and it would not have been presentable.
Is that on that hillside that goes up and, like, I think there's houses at the top? Is that where that's
There's
being built?
there's a parking lot up at the top, and the other train locomotive is up there, and there will be some parking. There is the switchback walking path for accessibility, and there's also the slides with kind of some boulder features in it that kids can slide down, and adults can slide down it too. I won't restrict the ages.
I guess the only question I had was, is at the one that we can have people reserve, is there going to be electricity and water? Because I know when you can reserve Rotary, you can get the keys, or Hammond, you can get the keys so people can have bouncy houses. That was just a thought, so that if people want to reserve it for that.
I'm not sure if there's water and electricity there, but I can
Don't
definitely.
recall
Okay.
either.
Because
I
I
can
know
get that
when a
information
lot of
and send it.
moms are looking for parks, that's what they need, so.
Yeah, I don't recall if there was electricity or water there.
Any other questions?
Is there going to be some sort of gate? You talked about the fence.
There will be 2 gates, one at the north and one at the south. So let me go back to some overviews. There's going to be a vehicle gate just below this picture, right about where the mouse is, where the mouse was. There will also be a people gate further north, at the edge of the parking lot there. And then on the north side, or the south side up the hill, there will also be a gate up there. And those will be locked when the park is closed. Open up in the morning, close at night.
No, to the left, there's also kind of an entrance. Will that just be a solid fence, like kind of where those apartments are? Or will it have an entrance on that left side as
Every
well?
entrance will have a gate.
Is there an entrance on that left side of the picture?
On the east side, I think that there was an entrance. I don't remember if that was taken out or not.
No, it's still in there.
It's still there on the, on the east side, right?
And it ties into, it's in there. I don't remember exactly where it's at, but I know that the gate is in there.
Right, it's in a kind of an odd spot, I think.
Right? Thank you for your time.
Okay. Do we have any administration reports?
I don't this evening, no.
Okay. Any commission reports? From any commissioners? Art Commission was a more elaborate discussion about future plans for our NOFA funds and some sculptures that didn't really change from what I reported on at the last meeting. And so if either of our other park commissioners have any requests for future agenda items?
Just to discuss the Adopt a Park program, if we've compared what Feather River does yet. I also came across Feather River had a 2020 master plan they did in 2011 that had really interesting stuff in it. I don't know if any of us have read it. I didn't have time to read all of it, but it addressed all the city parks and all the city stuff as well, and what we could work toward in the future. Like, it had bedrock, and it talked about doing a whitewater park, and it had all sorts of interesting stuff. So I thought maybe that could be something we could look at and talk about.
Do I need to push this button? Okay, there you go. With the Adopt a Park program, what I wondered is, and I, like, what the policies are for having vendors or anything like that, like potentially having food trucks that could also adopt the, something we might talk about, or, you know, maybe it's a source of revenue for the parks, or, and then you have a custodian there that has a vested interest in keeping the park.
We do have a food truck ordinance that was passed at city council a couple months ago. Excuse me, a few months ago. And, excuse me, we capped the licenses for trucks to the number of trucks that were already here. So they are all kind of grandfathered in, but there aren't any more trucks allowed. So it would require council action at this point to add more.
To do
more
food truck.
Yeah,
okay.
and there's three locations that were identified to be food truck villages. So I think it's 13 or 15 trucks that were approved, and they're all along Oro Dam, or 162. And then I'm sure you're all familiar. You've seen them there for years.
Yeah.
So they're memorialized into those spots. And then 3 locations for food truck villages. One's on the corner of 3rd and Nelson. The other one is down by Walmart. And the third one, I think, is on the east or the west side a little bit. There is an application for food truck villages for two of the locations right now. Went a little bit further than your question, or your point, but
It'd be, there's multiple steps if we were to look at something like that, is what.
right, we would need
And
to.
require council.
It would require council action at this point because the ordinance capped the number of food trucks that are to what's here.
By west side, where do you mean? We're talking about the
On the
west
west
side
side
of
of the
Walmart?
70.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one down by Walmart, and I think that there's already, there's a lot there. It's maybe just north of Walmart.
Okay.
Yeah.
And west side of 70, so
Yeah, and then the other one, the
that'd
one,
be,
I don't remember where that one was. Wes picked out those, the locations. There were locations that seemed to make sense. They're away from other restaurants, so they're in areas that Wes identified that don't really have food, options already in the area. And so it wouldn't be competing against any brick and mortar restaurants.
Do you know if that, because I don't really know about the ordinance, I'll look at it, but does it, because like at River Bend, I think there's 2 ice cream trucks that I see go through River Bend and sell ice cream. Does that ordinance cover ice cream trucks? Or, I'm just thinking, things that would make the park more attractive to the public. Do you think do they consider ice cream truck a food
I
truck?
don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to
I
look that up.
don't think so. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's not stationary.
It's, yeah.
I think it's separate.
I don't know.
Just
That's a
from,
really- no,
my
that's a
husband
great
works with
suggestion.
Little League, and the ice cream trucks are never part of any of the conversations that we have about parking the food trucks on certain events.
They just randomly show up and
Yeah, it
drive
just
through.
drives around.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a couple of the mobile sort of snack carts that come out for First Fridays also.
The
They-
push
they-
ones as opposed to
Yeah, they would
actual.
certainly enhance maybe coming to some of the parks on certain days, or like you were saying with ice cream or cotton candy or something, so that could be fun.
I'm not sure that those are allowed, actually. The first Friday down in the downtown area?
I think they get a special event permit,
Okay.
but I'm not 100%
Oh,
sure.
They
Okay,
do
so
get
it
a special
wouldn't be a
event permit,
long-term-
the organizer, Sarah Noland
I'm
does
not
it.
sure exactly.
But I don't know about the food carts, but no one has complained, so maybe it's okay.
So
Maybe
it's-
they're legal, yeah.
Okay. I think we definitely need to add to our agenda for next meeting is appointing a chairperson, however that needs to happen, whether it's nomination volunteer. I'm not exactly sure how that happens. But, yeah, I think this is like our third meeting that we have.
I'm not sure how that works too,
Been
but
one in the year I've been.
from my knowledge, I think that it will be between you commissioner to, vote, like, this is the
Okay.
person we want, and then you guys motion on it.
Okay. Does that need to be on the agenda as a,
I wrote it down.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
wondering.
I'll talk to
yeah.
Kayla about it, and either we'll report back on how that works, or we'll have an item to appoint a chair.
Okay.
I'd like to say an update on what's going on at Bedrock since last time we discussed it.
Okay.
Or that can also be a question if it's a short answer right now.
I don't have, I think I can give an answer, but I'm not sure if it's accurate, so I will defer.
Okay.
Okay, also to clarify, there was a typo under adjournment. The next meeting says it's scheduled for January 14th,
Yeah, we did that again.
2024. It's February 11th,
11th, yeah.
2025. So if you want to just make a note of that or put it in your phone or whatever. Well, then, if there's nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting until February 11th.
All right, thank you.
Excellent.